He dragged me behind the barn, so fast my boots barely touched the ground. Gravel bit into my knees as we hit the dirt, his body covering mine before I could even suck in a full breath. Gunshots cracked through the cold evening air, 1, 2, 3 sharp and vicious, echoing off the old wooden boards. "Stay quiet, sweetheart." His voice was a low growl right against my ear, steady even with bullets flying. "They want you alive." My heart slammed against my ribs so hard, I wondered if the men on the other side of the barn could hear it. I could feel his chest pressed to my back, huge and solid, like a wall had thrown itself over me. I didn't dare move. Dust floated in the narrow strip of light between the barn and the ground. I could see his hand braced on the dirt beside my fingers' broad knuckles, scarred, a faint tremor there that told me he wasn't as calm as he sounded. Another shot rang out, splintering wood inches from my boots. I flinched. His arm tightened around my waist, pulling me closer into the shadow. "Easy," he murmured. "I've got you." The thing was, I believed him. I just wasn't sure how we'd ended up here with men hunting me across an open prairie evening when all I'd wanted a month ago was a quiet town, a fresh start, and maybe a hot cup of coffee that didn't come in a takeout cup from a high-rise lobby in Denver. Funny how life can twist. If you want to hear what he says next, make sure you resubscribed so you don't miss the rest of our night together out here in the dark, because this isn't where it starts. It started the day my truck died on the side of the road, in the middle of nowhere, with my whole life rattling in the back seat. I was 30 minutes from West River when the engine coughed, lurched, and gave up on living. "Come on," I whispered, patting the cracked steering wheel like it could hear me. "Just a few more miles." You and me were almost there. The dashboard flickered once, dramatically, and then went black. The truck rolled to a stubborn, shuddering stop on the shoulder of the narrow 2-lane road that cut straight through wide, endless prairie. Golden grass rippled under a big, pale sky, the kind that made you feel small and strangely hopeful all at once. I personally felt mostly tired. I'd left Denver at dawn with a packed bag, a cardboard box of kitchen stuff, a folder full of paperwork I wished I could set on fire, and a heart that felt scraped thin. Burnout wasn't something I ever thought would happen to me. I was the dependable one. The stay late, come early, fix everything assistant with color-coded spreadsheets and a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Until I found out my fiancé and boss, because apparently I liked to make my life complicated, had been laundering money through our department. Until I found my own name on documents I hadn't signed. Until he'd looked me straight in the face and said, "You'll be fine, Em. No one's going to blame you if you keep your mouth shut." And then I'd found something else, one USB drive, tucked in the wrong folder, full of the truth he never meant me to see. So I'd packed up what I could, resigned by email, and run. Back to the only place that had ever really felt like home, the tiny town where my Aunt Jo ran a diner that smelled like coffee and cinnamon and second chances. I just hadn't planned on my truck giving out before we got there. I dropped my forehead onto the steering wheel and let my eyes close for a few seconds. A quiet hum of the prairie pressed around me. No cars, no city sirens, just wind. And then, because apparently I like to torture myself, I checked my phone. No bars. "Of course," I muttered. Why would anything be easy? I got out, the wind snatching my hair across my face, and tried to pop the hood like I had any clue what I was doing. It stuck. I tugged harder. Nothing. A beat-up blue pickup rolled into view in the distance, dust trailing behind it, growing larger on the road like it had been conjured by my desperation. I stuck my arm out and waved. The truck slowed, then pulled off onto the shoulder in front of me. The engine cut off, and for a second everything was just still. The driver's door opened, and he stepped out. He looked like every Western movie had just sent its lead character straight to my stretch of highway, except real, and taller, and somehow quieter. jeans worn at the seams, faded black t-shirt under an unbuttoned plaid shirt, dusty boots, a hat pulled low over dark hair. He moved like he'd been working since sunrise and didn't complain about it. But it was his eyes that got me. Gray-blue, like storm clouds over distant mountains, steady as they took me in from head to toe, and then, politely, settled somewhere around my shoulder. "You picked a bad place to break down," he said. His voice was low and rough, like gravel rolled in warm honey. "You okay?" "I'm fine." My voice sounded too bright in my own ears. I tucked hair behind my ear, tried for composure. "Truck's not." He walked closer, boots crunching on gravel. Up close, he was even more. Much. Tall and solid, with a jaw that looked like it had been carved by whatever stubborn force shaped this land. He stopped a few feet away, respectful distance, hands loose at his sides. "You from around here?" he asked. "Used to be," I said. "I'm headed to West River. My aunt owns the diner there." "Joe's place?" Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. "Everyone knows Joe," he said. "Best pie in 3 counties. He tipped his chin toward my dead truck. "Pop the hood. Let's see what we're dealing with." "It's stuck," I warned him, but he just stepped around me, fingers finding the latch like they'd done it 100 times. The hood creaked open with a reluctant groan. He leaned in, frowning at the engine. I watched his hands calloused, sure, and realized I was staring. I yanked my gaze back to his face just as he straightened. "Not going to be something I can fix on the side of the road," he said. "Could be your fuel pump. Could be electrical. Either way, you're not driving it into town tonight." A hollow pit opened in my stomach. "Oh," I said. "Right. Okay. Well, I'll just—" "Before you say you'll walk," he cut in, one corner of his mouth lifting like he'd seen this movie before. "It's 22 miles to West River. Sun's dropping. Coyotes don't care that you got good shoes." I glanced at my sneakers like they might argue for me. They didn't. "I can call a tow?" I offered weakly. He glanced at the phone still in my hand. "You got service?" I checked. Still nothing. I sighed. "Okay, fine. I'll accept that this day hates me." He huffed something like a soft laugh. "I'm Cole," he said. "Cole Hart. My place is about 5 miles up from here. I'll haul your truck in with my flatbed tomorrow. But for tonight, I can get you a ride to town. Or you can stay at the ranch." His gaze met mine, steady. "Joe vouches for you." "She doesn't know she does, but she does." I hesitated. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to whispered in the back of my mind, "Don't go to a second location. Don't get in cars with strangers." Especially big, quiet strangers with shoulders like doorframes. But this wasn't a dark city alley. It was open prairie, a pink sunset bleeding across the sky, birds skimming low over swaying grass. And something in his face, tired, patient, entirely unsurprised, my inconvenience made my shoulders unclench. He didn't feel like a threat. He felt safe, which scared me in a whole different way, because I didn't want to trust my instincts anymore. They'd chosen wrong before. "Just for tonight?" I asked. "Just for tonight," he agreed. "You can call Joe from my place. Let her know where you are. She'll scream at me if that makes you feel better." For the first time all day, a real smile tugged at my mouth. "It kind of does," I admitted. "Then grab whatever you need." He stepped back. I locked the truck up. "It'll be here in the morning." I climbed into his pickup with my bag, and the cardboard box balanced on my knees. The cab smelled like leather and dust and some faint, clean soap. He slid behind the wheel, turned the key, and the old engine rumbled to life. As we pulled back onto the road, the sky stretched wide and open around us, the town still hidden somewhere ahead. The silence between us felt not awkward, just quiet, like he was someone who only spoke when he needed to. I found myself filling the space. So you know my aunt? I asked. Everyone knows Joe, he said again. She fusses over people. Takes pies to funerals and casseroles to new moms. She ever mentioned me? I left before I was listening to her gossip, I said. I was a teenager. Everything she said sounded like noise at the time. He nodded, accepting that easily. You been gone long? He asked. 10 years, I said. Went to college, got a job, stayed away. I swallowed. Life happened. He glanced over, one quick, assessing look, then turned his eyes back to the road. Life's good at happening, he said quietly. Joe'll be glad you're back. I let my forehead rest against the cool glass of the window. I hope I will be too, I murmured. Out here in the dimming light, with a stranger driving me toward a town I used to call home, the weight of the past few months pressed heavy on my chest. Still, something loosened too, like the land itself was saying, "You're not done yet." Cola's ranch showed up as a wooden gate with a weathered heart cattle sign hanging from it and a long dusty drive that cut between fields. In the distance, the house came into view, a white two-story with a wide porch and warm yellow light spilling from the front windows. Behind it, dark shapes of barns and outbuildings shouldered up against the horizon. He parked near the side door and hopped out, circling around to get my box before I could protest. You don't have to. It's fine, he said. You look like a stiff breeze could take you out right now. I wanted to argue, but my body yawned instead of my mouth. Inside, the kitchen smelled like coffee and something savory stew, maybe. Cozy, homey, like a place where people actually sat down to eat instead of grabbing takeout at their desks. He set my box on the small table, then reached for the wall phone, an actual landline, with a coiled cord and everything. You remember Joe's number? He asked. I rattled it off automatically. Some things lived in your bones. He dialed, waited, then held the receiver out. Brace yourself, he muttered. Aunt Joe's voice came through loud enough. I had to pull the phone back an inch. Where on God's earth are you? You were supposed to be here before dinner. I thought you'd hit a deer or something. Hi, Joe, I said, a laugh bubbling up despite everything. Truck died. I'm fine. I'm at a ranch, Hart Cattle, with a man named Cole. Silence. Then, Cole Hart? Oh, sweetheart, you're in good hands. That boy won't let a fly land on you without apologizing for it. You stay put. I'll come by first thing in the morning to collect you. You hear me? I hear you, I said softly. And Em? Yeah? I'm glad you're home. My throat tightened. Me too, I whispered, then hung up before I cried all over her. When I handed the phone back to Cole, he just nodded once. You hungry? He asked. Yes, my stomach answered loudly. He lifted one brow, the ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. Sit, he said. I'll fix you a bowl. We ate beef stew at his warm wooden table in a comfortable quiet broken only by the occasional question. What brings you back? He asked at one point, eyes on his bowl. Needed a reset, I said, staring at the spoon turning in my hand. City burned me out. Job? He guessed. Job. Relationship. I shrugged like it didn't matter. Turns out mixing those isn't smart. He made a low sound that might have been agreement. You got somewhere to land in town? He asked. Joe's got a little apartment above the diner, I said. It used to be. Storage. But she's cleared it out for me. Says it's mine as long as I need it. She means that, he said. She's good people. So are you, I said before I could think better of it. His eyes flicked up to mine, surprised, then away. I just saw a broken-down truck, he said gruffly. That's all. But it didn't feel like that was all. Later, he showed me to a small bedroom off the hallway, with a quilt on the bed and a window that looked out over the dark fields. I'll be up at 5, he said, one hand on the doorframe. Cows don't care if we had company. His mouth twitched again. Bathroom's down the hall. If you need anything, holler. I won't, I said automatically. I mean, thank you. For tonight. For everything. He tipped his hat still on his head, somehow, like it lived there. Sleep, Em, he said. You're safe here. The words dropped into a place inside me that had been empty for a long time. Safe. I didn't know then how much I'd need that word, or how much I'd come to believe him. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of a truck door slamming and the faint lowing of cattle. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, painting strips of gold across the quilt. For a second, disoriented, I thought I was back in Denver, late for a meeting, phone buzzing with messages from my boss fiance asking where the reports were. Then the smell of coffee drifted down the hall, and it all came rushing back. New start. Old town. Quiet cowboy who pulled my life out of a ditch. By the time I made it to the kitchen, he was already there, mug in hand, clean t-shirt stretching across his shoulders. A second mug sat on the counter, steam curling up. For you, he said, nodding toward it. I feel spoiled, I said, wrapping my hands around the warmth. Don't, he said. It's just coffee. But he'd remembered to leave it light, with just enough cream to cut the edge. He couldn't have known that was how I liked it, but somehow he'd guessed. We drove into town to meet the tow truck, my dead vehicle faithfully delivered to the only mechanic in West River. The estimate was painful. I'll get it fixed, I told the mechanic. It just might take me a minute. He shrugged. Truck's not going anywhere. That was how I started walking more. West River hadn't changed much in 10 years. Same narrow main street, with its uneven sidewalk and faded storefronts. Same church steeple rising above the town, like it was watching over everyone. Same old feed store where farmers leaned on the counter and talked weather like it was a person. And Joe's place, with its big front windows and squeaky door and hand-painted sign that had been touched up but never replaced. Joe stood behind the counter, gray hair pinned back, apron dusted with flour. When she saw me, her eyes filled, and she rounded the counter faster than I'd seen her move in years. You're really here, she said, crushing me into a hug that squeezed the air out of my lungs. My girl's really home. I let myself sink into her embrace for a long, selfish moment. When she finally let go, she cupped my face in her hands. You look tired, she said frankly, and too thin. We'll fix both. Sit, eat. Then you can tell me whatever pieces of the story you're ready to tell. Over her shoulder, I saw a few customers watching us with open curiosity. Small towns didn't get new stories very often. In the corner, at the table closest to the window, Cole sat with a plate of eggs and biscuits, hat resting on the chair beside him. He caught my eye and gave a small nod, like he was checking I'd made it this far okay. Warmth flickered in my chest. I smiled back before looking away, flustered by my own reaction. Tell me in the comments. Do you think she should trust him yet? Because I wasn't sure. But every time my gaze drifted back to him, the word safe whispered again in my head. I started working at the diner 2 days later. It made sense. Joe needed the help her knees didn't like 12-hour shifts anymore. I needed the distraction and the paycheck while my truck sat disassembled in the mechanic's garage, waiting for a part. Mornings were busy with truckers passing through and ranchers fueling up before chores. Afternoons slowed down enough for refilling coffee and chatting with the older crowd who came in for pie and company. And almost every day, sometime between 7 and 8, Cole walked in. Sometimes alone, sometimes with his cousin Luke or a ranch hand. Always quiet, always taking the corner table where he could see the door. It's a habit, Joe said one day, catching my glance toward him. Was a deputy once, before he took over the ranch. Lost a good friend in a bad situation. Doesn't like surprises now. I watched him scan the room like it was automatic. Who was coming? Who was leaving? Who looked upset? Who looked like they might be trouble? Is he okay? I asked softly. Coal? She shrugged. Carries his weight. Carries a lot of other people's too, far as I'm concerned, but he's solid. He won't let this town fall apart on his watch. Her words stuck with me. He won't let this town fall apart on his watch. I hadn't meant for my problems to become the town's, but trouble has a way of leaking. The first time I felt watched, it was late. We'd closed the diner at 9. The other waitress, Candy, had already gone home. Joe was in the back doing inventory. I swept the floor, humming under my breath. The bell over the front door chimed. We're closed, sorry, I called without looking up. I didn't hear the door close again. A prickle slid down the back of my neck. I straightened slowly, hand tightening around the broom handle. A man stood just inside the door, letting it swing shut behind him. He didn't look like he belonged here. Sharp suit, city shoes that hadn't met dirt in their life, slicked back dark hair, sunglasses at night, which told me almost everything I needed to know. My stomach dropped. Can I help you? I asked, every word careful. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I sure hope so, Miss Dawson, he said. Hearing my last name in his mouth felt like cold water down my back. I'm sorry, I said, though I wasn't. We're closed. I won't stay long. He stepped closer, hands in his pockets. Heard you left Denver in a hurry. Your boss is worried about you. Says you're confused. Thought I might check on you. I swallowed. What do you want? I asked. Just a little something you took with you. His smile sharpened. You know what I'm talking about. My pulse hammered. The USB drive was in a locked box in the apartment above the diner. I'd hidden it the first night I got here, hands shaking as I shoved it under old tax records and spare menus. I don't have anything, I said. He sighed, like I was inconveniencing him. See? That's not what my boss thinks, he said. And my boss? He's very invested in this. He doesn't like loose ends. He doesn't like witnesses walking around with evidence. The word evidence made my mouth go dry. In the kitchen, a pan clanged. Joe hummed, oblivious. He glanced toward the back. This is a nice little place. Would be a shame if something happened to it, you know? Anger cut through the fear. You need to leave, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. Now, he considered me for a long, tense beat. This is me being polite, Emily, he said finally. Friendly. You have something that doesn't belong to you. We need it back. Otherwise, this nice quiet town of yours? He tilted his head. Might get a little louder than folks here are used to. He slid a card across the counter. You think about it, he said. You got a week. After that, he lifted a shoulder in a shrug. Things get less friendly. Then he turned and walked out, the bell chiming cheerfully behind him. My knees almost gave out. Em? Joe's voice floated from the back. You okay out there? I shoved the card into my apron pocket. Yeah, I lied. Just finished sweeping. All night, I felt that man's eyes on me, even when he was long gone. When I finally stepped outside, lock clicking shut behind me, the street was quiet. Moonlight painted soft silver over empty cars. Crickets chirped in the fields beyond. I wrapped my arms around myself and started toward the stairs that led up to the apartment. Evening, Em. I jumped. Cole leaned against the side of his truck, one boot propped on the bumper, hands in his pockets. He stepped out of the shadows like he'd been part of them. Sorry, he said when he saw my reaction. Didn't mean to spook you. My heart slowed, recognizing him even before my brain fully caught up. It's okay, I said. Just long day. He watched me for a second, eyes narrowing slightly. Who was the guy? He asked. My fingers loosened around the card in my pocket, the edges biting into my palm. What guy? I tried. He tipped his chin toward the diner door. Slick suit, shiny shoes. Came in about 20 minutes before closing, he said. I saw him go in from across the street. Didn't see him order food. Of course he'd seen. I exhaled slowly. An old work friend, I said, picking each word like it might explode. He shouldn't have been here. I told him to go. You looked like you wanted to crawl out of your skin when you walked out, Cole said. Doesn't sound like a friend. He's nobody, I said quickly. Too quickly. I'm fine. He pushed off the truck, coming closer, but not too close. He said, voice gentle but firm. You're shaking. I looked down at my hands. They trembled, the card fluttering like a small, guilty bird. I hadn't even realized. I'm just tired, I said, tears burning the backs of my eyes. Everything's catching up. You know how it is when you finally stop moving. Yeah, he said quietly. I know. He looked at the hand clutching my pocket. Can I see? He asked. I hesitated, then slowly pulled the card out. He took it between two fingers, scanning the name. Tyler Grant, some generic consultant title under it, and a Denver number. His jaw tightened. He bother you? He asked. He threatened me, I heard myself say. Once the words started, I couldn't stop them. Not directly, just implied. He wants something. Something from my old job. Something I'm not supposed to have. I swallowed. I didn't tell him that I do. Cole nodded once. Why's it so important? He asked. Because it proves what my ex was doing, I whispered. All the illegal money. All the lies. All the signatures he forged under my name. His eyes flashed. He set you up, Cole said. I don't know yet, I whispered. I just know if I hand that drive over, whatever's on it disappears. And then it's my word against his. And he's the golden boy. The one everybody trusts. Cole's voice was very calm when he spoke again. How dangerous is he, Em? I thought of the way Tyler had said things get less friendly. I don't know, I admitted. But he sent someone all the way out here. That seems like a bad sign. Yeah, Cole said. It does. He slipped the card into his own pocket, like it offended him to see it in mine. I'm going to walk you upstairs, he said simply. You don't have to. I know I don't, he said. I'm doing it anyway. He waited until we were at the foot of the stairs and nodded toward my door. Lock it behind you, he said. Double-check the windows. If anything feels wrong tonight, any noise, any lights where they shouldn't be, you call me, or you call the sheriff. Or both. I don't want to drag anyone into. Too late, he said softly. You're in my town. It's my business now. Something in my chest stuttered at that. His town. My town too, once. Maybe again. Okay, I whispered. His gaze softened, just a little. You don't have to carry this by yourself anymore, Em, he said. You got people here now. Let us do our part. My throat closed up. I managed a nod, then ran up the stairs before I cried in front of him. In the apartment, I did exactly what he told me. Locked the door, checked the windows, pulled the curtains tight. Then I went to the locked metal box under my bed and pulled out the USB drive. Small, ordinary, a sliver of plastic and metal that held the weight of my whole life. I turned it over in my hands. I don't know what to do with you, I told it. If you were in my boots, what's the first thing you'd do on that ranch or above this diner tonight? Tell me below, because I was out of ideas. Sheriff Daniels was not what I'd call inspiring. He was nice enough. Late 50s, mustache that had seen better years, fond of free coffee refills and gossip. When I walked into his office the next morning, USB drive in my pocket, my heart pounding, he looked up from behind a stack of paperwork and squinted. Emily Dawson, as I live and breathe, he said. Heard you were back. Hi, Sheriff, I said. Can I talk to you for a minute? Doors open, he said, waving me in. What's on your mind? I told him about my ex, the money, the forged documents, the man at the diner, Tyler's threats. I did not, for now, mention the USB. He listened, nodding now and then, face mostly bored. "Sounds like a mess," he said when I finished. "Those Denver boys, they play a different game. Hard to know what's true without proof." "I have proof," I said quietly. His gaze sharpened slightly. "You do?" I swallowed. "I think so," I said. "I took something before I left. Files. I haven't looked at them yet. I'm scared to." But he's scared enough to send people after me, and that tells me they matter. Daniels leaned back in his chair creaking. "Well now," he said, "if you got something like that, you should hand it over. Let the right folks take care of it." "Who are the right folks?" I asked. "State police," he said. "Feds, maybe." "I can pass it up the chain." "I'm just a small-town sheriff, Em. I don't deal with big financial crimes. That's for people who wear nicer suits than me." He tried a chuckle. It fell flat. "But if I hand it over," I said slowly, "and someone along that chain is on his payroll, then it disappears. And I'm exposed. He knows exactly what I had. What I tried to do." Danielle sighed. "Emily," he said, patient like he was talking to a kid, "you watch too much television. That's not how it works. Isn't it?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he offered a compromise. "You're rattled," he said. "Understandably. How about this? Give me the name of the man who came to the diner. I'll keep an eye out. If he causes trouble, I'll deal with him. Meanwhile, you think about turning that, whatever it is, over, because keeping it makes you a target. That part, at least TV gets right." He wasn't wrong. And yet, something in my gut twisted uneasily. I gave him Tyler's name. I did not mention the card in Cole's pocket. When I left the sheriff's office, the sky felt lower, pressing down on my shoulders. Cole was leaning against his truck across the street. Again. "Do you sleep?" I asked, half exasperated. "Sometimes," he said. "What did Daniel say?" I told him, watching his face. He didn't relax when I mentioned the state police. He frowned when I said, "Hand it over." "Daniels is a decent man," Cole said slowly. "But he has never dealt with anything bigger, in a bar fight and a cattle rustler in his life. This is different. I don't know what to do," I admitted, the confession cracking out of me. "If I keep it, they want me alive, to get it back. If I give it away, I lose control. Either way, I'm stuck," he finished. "Story of my life," I said softly. He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Come out to the ranch tonight," he said suddenly. I blinked. "What? Joe can spare you for one evening," he said. "I got fences need mending, and I could use an extra pair of hands, even if they're city soft." His mouth tipped up slightly. "More importantly, I got some friends who can tell us what to do with that drive of yours. People I trust." "Friends?" I repeated. "Old Army buddy," he said. "Works with state investigators now. Owes me one?" He shrugged, like it was nothing. "You bring the drive. We'll call him from my landline. Quiet, no electronic trail. Let him tell us the smart move." My heart did an odd little flip. "You'd do that?" I asked. "For me?" He met my eyes. "For you," he said simply. "And for this town. I don't let trouble roll up on us without pushing back." Warmth surged through my chest, tangled with fear and gratitude, and something I didn't want to name yet. "Okay," I said. "I'll come." His shoulders relaxed a fraction. "Good," he said. "Be at the truck at 6. Don't talk to any more men in shiny shoes before then." "I'll try not to," I said wryly. He walked me back to the diner, not saying much. But his presence beside me felt like a buffer against the whole world. And for the first time since Denver, I felt like maybe there was a path forward. Not easy, not simple, but a path. That evening, the sky turned lavender over the Hart Ranch. Cole handed me a pair of gloves and pointed toward a section of fence where the wire drooped dangerously. We'll start there, he said. Cows get curious. He'll find the weak spots. Kind of like people. I feel personally attacked by that metaphor, I said, but I pulled on the gloves. We worked side by side, the rhythm of fixing fence oddly calming. Loop, pull, staple, step. Did you always want to be a rancher? I asked, bracing a post while he tightened a line. Didn't think much about it, he said. Was born into it. Left for a while. Came back when my dad got sick. Your parents? Gone, he said. Dad first, Mom not long after. Some people are like that. One goes, the other follows. He straightened, eyes on the horizon. Ranch was going to hell. Someone had to step up. So you did, I said. So I did, he agreed. Fought the bank. Fought the drought. Fought everything trying to take it. He glanced at me. Haven't lost yet. Emily, he said, patient like he was talking to a kid. You watch too much television. That's not how it works. Isn't it? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he offered a compromise. You're rattled, he said. Understandably. How about this? Give me the name of the man who came to the diner. I'll keep an eye out. If he causes trouble, I'll deal with him. Meanwhile, you think about turning that, whatever it is, over, because keeping it makes you a target. That part, at least TV gets right. He wasn't wrong. And yet, something in my gut twisted uneasily. I gave him Tyler's name. I did not mention the card in Cole's pocket. When I left the sheriff's office, the sky felt lower, pressing down on my shoulders. Cole was leaning against his truck across the street. Again. Do you sleep? I asked, half exasperated. Sometimes, he said. What did Daniel say? I told him, watching his face. He didn't relax when I mentioned the state police. He frowned when I said, hand it over. Daniels is a decent man, Cole said slowly. But he has never dealt with anything bigger, in a bar fight and a cattle rustler in his life. This is different. I don't know what to do, I admitted, the confession cracking out of me. If I keep it, they want me alive, to get it back. If I give it away, I lose control. Either way, I'm stuck, he finished. Story of my life, I said softly. He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Come out to the ranch tonight, he said suddenly. I blinked. What? Joe can spare you for one evening, he said. I got fences need mending, and I could use an extra pair of hands, even if they're city soft. His mouth tipped up slightly. More importantly, I got some friends can tell us what to do with that drive of yours. People I trust. Friends? I repeated. Old Army buddy, he said. Works with state investigators now. Owes me one? He shrugged, like it was nothing. You bring the drive. We'll call him from my landline. Quiet. No electronic trail. Let him tell us the smart move. My heart did an odd little flip. You do that? I asked. For me? He met my eyes. For you, he said simply. And for this town. I don't let trouble roll up on us without pushing back. Warmth surged through my chest, tangled with fear and gratitude, and something I didn't want to name yet. Okay, I said. I'll come. His shoulders relaxed a fraction. Good, he said. Be at the truck at 6. Don't talk to any more men in shiny shoes before then. I'll try not to, I said wryly. He walked me back to the diner, not saying much. But his presence beside me felt like a buffer against the whole world. And for the first time since Denver, I felt like maybe there was a path forward. Not easy, not simple, but a path. That evening, the sky turned lavender over the Hart Ranch. Cole handed me a pair of gloves and pointed toward a section of fence where the wire drooped dangerously. We'll start there, he said. Cows get curious. He'll find the weak spots. Kind of like people. I feel personally attacked by that metaphor, I said, but I pulled on the gloves. We worked side by side, the rhythm of fixing fence oddly calming. Loop, Pull, staple, step. Did you always want to be a rancher? I asked, bracing a post while he tightened a line. Didn't think much about it, he said. Was born into it. Left for a while. Came back when my dad got sick. Your parents? Gone, he said. Dad first, Mom not long after. Some people are like that. One goes, the other follows. He straightened, eyes on the horizon. Ranch was going to hell. Someone had to step up. So you did, I said. So I did, he agreed. Fought the bank. Fought the drought. Fought everything trying to take it. He glanced at me. Haven't lost yet. I smiled. Stubborn, I said. Protective, he corrected mildly. Of this land, these people? He hesitated. Old habits from before, I guess. Before what? I asked. His jaw worked, like he was chewing on words he didn't like the taste of. Was a deputy for a while, he said finally. Partnered up with a guy named Mark. Good man. Better shot than me. But don't tell him I said that. The corner of his mouth twitched. We got called out to a domestic one night. Drunk husband. Terrified wife. Standard stuff. We'd done it 100 times. He pulled the wire tighter, muscles in his forearm flexing. This time, husband had a gun he hadn't shown before, Cole said quietly. Came out of nowhere. I didn't see it. Mark did. He moved right between us. Took the bullet I should have taken. My breath caught. Cole, I whispered. Wife lived, he continued, like he was reading a report. Kid lived. I lived. Mark didn't. He let the wire go, exhaling. After that, the badge felt heavier than it ever had, he said. Every door I knocked on, every call I answered, all I saw was his wife's face at the funeral. I could do the job. I just couldn't carry it anymore. He gestured at the fields. So I came back here. Different kind of responsibility. Cows don't shoot you in the back. You blame yourself, I said softly. He didn't deny it. Was my call, he said. My scene? He stepped in front of me because I missed something. He looked at me, eyes shadowed. Protecting people is heavy. You screw up, they pay for it. I stepped closer, the wire humming between us. You're still protecting people, I said. You're just doing it from here. From this place, this town. Doesn't feel like enough, he said. It feels like more than most, I countered. For a moment, our gazes held. The sky darkened, the first stars pricking through. You don't have to carry that by yourself anymore either, I said quietly, echoing his words from the night before. His eyes softened, just a fraction. Maybe, he said. One day, we finished the fence in a comfortable silence. Later, in the kitchen, the USB drive sat between us on the table like a third person. Cole dialed his friend, the landline's long cord stretching. Hey, he said when the man answered. It's Hart. He listened, then huffed. Yeah, I know I never call unless I need something. You got a minute? He explained broad strokes. Woman, ex-boss, laundered money, evidence on a drive. Men sent to retrieve it. I watched his face as he listened to the reply. Hung, he said. Okay, yeah, no, she hasn't turned it over yet. That's why I'm calling you genius. A brief pause. Tomorrow? You sure? All right. I'll tell her. He hung up and turned to me. He says you did the right thing holding on to it, Cole said. He's going to drive out here tomorrow. Quiet. No sirens, no official trail yet. He wants to see the files first. Make sure they're what we think. Then I'll help get them to the right people without tipping your ex off too early. How is that even possible? I asked, hope warring with skepticism. He's good at his job, Cole said simply. Trust me on that one. Trust me. The words felt heavy. Okay, I said. Tomorrow. He nodded, then hesitated. He said. There's something else. My stomach dipped. What? Tyler, he said. The suits. Men like that don't give up easy. If they think you're getting ready to use that drive against them, they'll push harder. I swallowed. So what do we do? I asked. We make it harder for them to reach you, he said. At least until my friend gets here. I understood what he meant before he said it. You want me to stay here, I said. Just for tonight, he said. And tomorrow, until we know more. You can't keep walking back and forth from the diner alone with them on the prowl. They already know where you work. Might not know where you sleep yet. Don't give them the chance to find out. I can't just disappear from town, I protested. People will notice. Good, he said. Let them. Word gets around fast. Cole Hart's keeping Joe's niece out at the ranch. That'll make some folks talk. But it'll also make some trouble think twice. Heat rushed to my cheeks. People will assume things, I said. He shrugged. Let them assume, he said. You'll be in the guest room with the door locked same as last time. Everybody in this town knows I don't touch a woman who doesn't ask me to. You'll be safe. That's all that matters. The way he said it, without ego, without flirtation, just firm conviction, sent a strange, warm ache through my chest. Okay, I said, voice small. I'll stay. His shoulders relaxed. Good, he murmured. Later, when I lay in the guest bed again, listening to the quiet creaks of the house settling and the far-off sound of cattle lowing, I thought about how quickly things had changed. A week ago, I was just a burned-out woman running from a broken life. Now, men wanted me alive for what I carried, and one man wanted me alive for something else entirely. He didn't say it. I didn't either. But in the dark, with the USB drive tucked under my pillow and the memory of his steady eyes in my mind, I let myself imagine what it might feel like to be wanted for more than what I could provide or protect, to be wanted. Just for me. If you want to hear what he says next, and how this night turns into an all-out standoff behind that old barn, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the rest of our story. The next day did not go as planned. Cole's friend, Mark Yes, the same friend who'd taken the bullet, did arrive. Because Mark wasn't in the ground like I'd assumed. This is the one? He asked, stepping into Cole's kitchen, nodding at me like we'd met before in another life. Emily, I said, holding out a hand. Mark, he replied, shaking it firmly. Sorry for the mess you're in. Let's see if we can get you out. The story about the shooting came out later, in bits and pieces. How Mark had lived after all. How he'd moved away, taken a different kind of badge. How guilt made you rewrite memories. But for now, his attention was on the drive. He plugged it into a battered laptop, fingers moving quickly, eyes scanning. Your boyfriend was sloppy, he muttered. Arrogant. Left half a trail in plain sight. People like that always think they're untouchable. X, I corrected automatically. Airy X. He huffed. Good, he said. You can do better. My cheeks warmed. I didn't look at Cole, but I felt him standing behind me, one hand braced on the back of my chair. After an hour, Mark leaned back. Yup, he said. This is enough to bury him. Maybe take a few of his friends with him. Money laundering, fraud, forgery. He's got his hands in a lot of pots he shouldn't. My stomach flipped. What do we do? I asked. I take this, Mark said, tapping the drive. I make copies. I get it into the right hands in Denver. Quiet at first, then loud. You. He glanced at Cole. You keep her breathing. That's the plan, Cole said. Mark frowned. This Tyler character is not going to sit on his hands while we build a case, he warned. He's going to push. Hard. Might try to grab her. Use her as leverage. Cold washed over me. Grab me? I repeated. Kidnap, sweetheart, Mark said bluntly. Sorry, I don't sugarcoat. Men like that don't like loose ends. My heart hammered. I don't want anyone getting hurt because of me, I whispered. You didn't do this, Cole said, voice suddenly fierce. He did. Your ex did. They picked this path. You're the one trying to walk it right. Mark nodded. Listen, he said, leaning forward. We won't leave you dangling. I'll have folks watching in the city. I'll make sure the sheriff understands the stakes here, even if I have to draw it in crayons. But the first line of defense is right here. He jerked his chin toward Cole. On this ranch, a strange, fierce comfort bloomed in my chest. Okay, I said. Then we fight, Mark grinned. Knew I liked you, he said. Most people in your position fold, hand everything over. Hope the bad guy likes them enough not to ruin them. You got grit. I thought of all the nights I'd spent staring at my ceiling in Denver, paralyzed. I'm tired of being scared, I said. I want my life back. That's the spirit, he said. By the time Mark left, the sky was threatening rain. He promised to call when he hit the city. Promised to keep us updated. Then it was just me and Cole. The house felt smaller with the danger named so plainly. What now? I asked quietly. Now? He said. We work. We watch. We don't panic. He showed me how to check the locks, how to handle the old shotgun his dad had kept behind the pantry door, though he prayed I'd never need it. He walked the property line with me, showing where the fence was thick with brush, or someone might try to sneak in. We ended up at the barn as the first drops of rain began to fall. I don't like this, I admitted, hugging my arms around myself. Knowing men out there are planning around me. Around what I have. Around what I might do. You're not a thing to be moved on a board, he said. You're a person. We play our own moves. You sound very confident for someone who just got volunteered as my bodyguard, I said weakly. He smiled faintly. I've been doing this my whole life, he said. Protecting people who needed it. Sometimes they were grateful. Sometimes they weren't. But I don't know how to do anything else. A tear slipped out before I could stop it. This town, I said, voice breaking. I came back here because I wanted quiet. I wanted to make coffee and serve pie and forget what he did. I didn't mean to drag anyone into. Look at me, he said. I did. You didn't drag anyone, he said. You walked where you needed to go. People who care about you stepped in because that's what you do when you care. His gaze held mine. You're not a burden, Em. You're not trouble. You're just worth protecting. My chest ached. No one's ever said it like that, I whispered. They should have, he said. And if you let me, I'll keep saying it. Until you believe it. The rain picked up, pattering on the barn roof, blurring the lines of the world beyond. Something inside me cracked open. I'm scared, I admitted, voice barely audible. Not just of them. Of this. Of trusting anyone again. Of needing people. Of needing you. He stepped just a little closer, still giving me space. I'm scared too, he said softly. Of failing you. Of missing something. Of history repeating. His jaw flexed. But I'm more scared of doing nothing. Of watching you walk back into this alone. My eyes burned. You feel like the only place I can breathe, I said before I could stop myself. His breath hitched. He murmured. For a moment, we just stood there in the dim barn light, rain covering the world's noise, danger hanging somewhere beyond the fields. Then, slowly, he lifted a hand and brushed his thumb across my cheek, catching a tear I hadn't felt fall. Can I? He started, voice rough, like he wasn't sure if he should finish the sentence. I stepped into him, answering what he didn't quite ask. His arms came around me carefully, like I was made of something breakable. I buried my face against his chest, breath shaking. He smelled like rain and hay, and something warm and clean that was just him. If you stay, I stay, he murmured into my hair. If you're here, I'm here. That's the deal. I clung to him like he was the only solid thing in a world suddenly made of water. We didn't kiss, not yet, but something in me shifted. He wasn't just the man who'd pulled my truck off the side of the road anymore. He was home. The storm rolled in fully that night. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning flashed over the fields. And trouble finally came knocking. It started with the dogs. Cole had 2 old Daisy, who mostly slept on the porch, and younger Ranger, who took guarding duty very seriously. At 2 in the morning, Ranger's bark split the air like a siren. I sat up in bed, heart slamming, listening. Footsteps pounded down the hall. Cole's door opened. He called, voice low. You awake? Yes, I whispered, already at the door. He stood in the hallway in jeans and a t-shirt, hair mussed, eyes sharp. Stay in your room, he said. Lock the door. Don't open it unless it's me. Cole, what's happening? I whispered. Lights in the drive, he said. Too late for visitors. Too soon for Mark to be back. That leaves one option. Fear turned my blood cold. Tyler, I breathed. Or his friends, Cole said. Either way, they're not here for coffee. Gunshots cracked in the distance, warning shots. Not aimed at us yet, but a message. My knees went weak. His hand landed on my shoulder, steadying. Hey, he said, eyes locking onto mine. Look at me. I did. This is going to get loud, he said calmly. It's going to be scary, but you listen to me and you'll come out of it. You hear me? I nodded, breath shallow. I trust you, I whispered, surprised at how true it felt. He exhaled once, like that meant something to him, then pressed something cold into my hand. A key. Lock the door, he repeated. If they get in the house, there's a trapdoor in your closet floor. Lead down to the storm cellar. Hide there. Don't come out until you hear my voice and the sheriff's. Not just one, both. Where will you be? I asked, panic rising. Between you and them, he said. Then he leaned in and pressed his lips to my forehead. Not a kiss, exactly. Not the way I'd daydreamed about it, but more. A promise sealed in the space between heartbeats. Then he was gone, moving down the hallway, grabbing the shotgun from behind the pantry door, disappearing out into the storm. I did what he told me. Locked the door, checked the closet, found the trapdoor. Then I sat on the bed, shaking, listening to the world outside my small wooden room explode. Headlights swept across the walls. Men's voices yelled, muffled by distance and thunder. Ranger barked like he'd take on an army. And then, the sound that would live in my memory forever. Cole's shout. Get off my land, he roared. You're not welcome here. A voice answered, too far to make out the words. But the tone was smug, confident. Gunfire erupted, closer this time. Bark splintered. Glass shattered somewhere. Enough. I crawled to the window and peeked through the gap in the curtain. 3 trucks in the drive, lights blazing. Men in dark jackets spread out. One held a gun trained low, not aiming to kill yet, just threaten. Cole stood in front of the house, shotgun in hand, body a solid wall. Lightning flashed, turning the whole scene into a black and white photograph for a split second. I saw Tyler standing by the truck, umbrella over his head, like this was some kind of casual business meeting. I'm not here for you, cowboy. He yelled. I'm here for what doesn't belong to you. She doesn't belong to you either, Cole yelled back. Tyler laughed. She belongs to whoever keeps her out of prison, he called. Right now, that's me. Hand her over. She comes with us. She tells my boss she got confused, got scared, hands everything back, all is forgiven. Nobody else has to get hurt. I don't believe you, I yelled before I could stop myself. Every head snapped toward my window. Emily, get down, Cole shouted. I ducked. A bullet shattered the glass a heartbeat later, spraying shards across the bed. Fear surged. I scrambled off the mattress, heart in my throat. Footsteps crunched on broken glass. They were coming. Someone had cut the power. The house plunged into darkness, except for the fleeting flashes of lightning. The hallway floor creaked. Cole burst into my room, eyes wild until they landed on me. Without a word, he grabbed my hand and yanked me toward the window. "But you said," I started. "Plans changed," he said. "They're already inside. Cellar's no good if they've got the door covered." Another shot rang out. He hauled me onto the bed, then through the broken window onto the small roof that jutted out over the porch. Rain hammered us instantly, soaking my shirt, plastering my hair to my face. "Stay low," he ordered. We crawled across the slick shingles, the wind trying to shove us right back off. Below, men shouted, boots pounding up the porch steps. "They're going to search the house," one called. "Boss wants her breathing." "Spread out," another yelled. "She's here somewhere. You two check the kitchen. You take the hall." They fanned out, assuming we were still inside. Cole tugged me toward the edge of the roof, on the opposite side of the house. "What are we doing?" I hissed, rain in my mouth. "Getting you away from the house," he said. "Arn's got a back entrance they don't know about. From there, we get to the tree line. After that, they can't find you without dogs, and they don't have dogs." "How do you know?" I asked, slipping on the slick surface. "Because you can't bring dogs into this kind of mess without planning for them, and these idiots don't plan," he said. "They just show up loud." We reached the corner of the roof. It was a long way down. He dropped lightly to the ground first, boots hitting mud. Then he held his arms up. "Jump," he said. Rain blurred the world. Thunder roared overhead. I stared down at him. "You trust me?" he called. I didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Then jump." I did. He caught me like I weighed nothing, hands firm around my waist, setting me on my feet before I could fully process the feel of his body under mine. "Run," he said. We sprinted across the yard, keeping low, the barn looming ahead like a shadow. Gunfire popped behind us, hitting the side of the house. "Back door's open," someone yelled. "She's not in here." "Find her," Tyler shouted, "before the cops get nosy." We made it to the barn just as lightning lit up the whole yard. If they turned this way now, we were caught. Cole yanked the side door open, shoving me inside. Hay and dust and the sharp scent of horses hit me. "This way," he said, dragging me along the narrow aisle between stalls. "Why not the tree line now?" I gasped. "Too exposed," he said. "They got lights. We don't. They'll see us before we make it." "So what's the plan?" I demanded. That was when a flashlight beam swept past the gap under the barn door. We got movement. Someone yelled, "By the barn!" Cole swore under his breath. He grabbed me and pulled me toward the back, where a smaller door hung slightly askew. Gunshots cracked, closer this time, hitting the barn walls. He threw the door open, shoved me through, and followed, slamming it behind us. We were in the narrow space between the barn and the old equipment shed, pressed against rough wood, rain pouring down. Gunshots hit the barn, splintering wood inches from us. He dragged me down, one arm locking around my waist, pulling me behind the barn, out of sight. Gravel dug into my palms. My breath came in ragged gasps. That's when he said it. "Stay quiet, sweetheart." His lips brushed my ear, voice low and deadly calm. "They want you alive." Rain beat on the world. The barn wall shook with each impact. He shifted, putting his body fully between me and the bullets, using the narrow space as a shield. I pressed my forehead against his back, tasting fear and rain and whatever wild thing had taken over my veins. "You got your phone?" he whispered. "In my pocket," I whispered back. "No service out here, remember?" "Sometimes storm kicks the tower just right," he murmured. "Slide it out. Hand it to me." I did, fingers fumbling. He dialed one-handed, moving so little it felt like he was made of stone. Daniels, he whispered when the sheriff answered. Hart Ranch. No, bring everyone. We got armed men on my property. They're here for Emily Dawson. Cole, it's 2 in the... Now, Cole repeated, voice like steel. Tell Mark if he's still in town, and call State. You'll want them in on this. There was a pause. Then Daniels cussed loud enough I heard it, even over the rain. We're coming, he said. The seconds stretched. Men's voices shifted. Check around back. One yelled. They might have run for the trees. Cole's arm tightened. Time to move, he murmured. Sound like 3 around the front. 1 swinging wide. We go toward the corral. Use the dark. Stay glued to me. My whole body shook. Okay, I breathed. He eased forward, peeking around the edge of the barn. In the brief lightning flash, I saw what he saw, a man with a flashlight sweeping the area near the side door. 2 more heading toward the pasture. Tyler standing by the trucks, phone to his ear, shouting. This is a disaster, he yelled. You said it'd be simple. Cole jerked his head toward the corral. We slipped through the mud, keeping low, hearts pounding. We made it to the fence just as headlights appeared down the road. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, building. Cops! Someone yelled near the house. We gotta go. Not without her. Tyler snapped. She's got that drive, or she knows where it is. They got guns, man. Another voice shouted. I'm not dying over some stupid. You already got paid, Tyler snarled. You think my boss is going to let you walk away if you bail now? Chaos erupted among them. Gunfire weapons turned on each other now. Arguments gone deadly. I flinched. Cole shoved me down behind a hay bale near the corral. Stay here, he said. No, I gasped, grabbing his sleeve. Don't. I have to keep them from getting to you, he said. You're in the dark here. They won't see you. Cops are almost here. Let me hold them off a few more minutes. That's all we need. I can't watch you get shot, I whispered, tears mingling with the rain on my cheeks. You're not going to watch, he said gently. You're going to curl up right here, and you're going to breathe, and you're going to live. That's your job. He cupped my face briefly, thumb brushing over my lip. I'm not going anywhere, he said. Not unless you tell me to. Then he kissed me, soft, quick, like a promise he intended to spend the rest of his life keeping. Then he was gone again, moving through the rain like a shadow, circling toward the house. I huddled behind the hay bale, hands over my head, listening as the sirens grew louder, tires squealed, voices shouted. Something inside me stayed very, very still, waiting for the sound of his voice again, waiting for the moment I'd know which way the world had tipped. In the end, it wasn't a cinematic showdown. It was messy. Tyler tried to run when the first patrol car slid into the drive, sheriff's lights cutting through the storm. One of his own men tripped him in the mud. Gunfire sparked as someone panicked and shot at the cruiser, hitting the hood. Daniels dove behind his open door, returning fire with more accuracy than I'd given him credit for. Mark's truck barreled in right behind the sheriff's, and he came out like he'd never left the badge, barking orders, gun steady. Drop your weapons, he yelled. Hands where I can see them. Some did, some didn't. 2 men were wounded. None died. Tyler ended up face down in the mud, wrists zip-tied behind him, screaming about lawyers and mistakes and how he'd been tricked. Mark read him his rights anyway, voice hard. I sat in the back of the sheriff's SUV, wrapped in a blanket, watching through the rain-streaked window. Cole stood beside the barn, shirt torn, mud smeared on his jaw, one arm cradled against his side. I was out of the car and down the embankment before anyone could stop me. Daniels yelled. Stay back. I didn't. I went straight to Cole. Are you hurt? I demanded, grabbing his free hand, eyes scanning for blood. Just grazed, he said, nodding to his arm. Bullet caught me as it hit the wall. No holes where they shouldn't be. He tried for a crooked smile. Don't worry. I checked. Tears spilled over. I told you not to get shot, I said, voice wobbling. You told me not to die, he corrected. So far, I'm obeying orders. I laughed through the tears, then pressed my forehead to his chest. His good arm wrapped around me, pulling me close, like he'd been waiting all night to do that again. We did it, I whispered. We actually did it. We're not done yet, he said. But we got through the worst of it. Mark walked up, wiping rain from his face. Drive secure, he said. We got statements. We got witnesses. We got your ex-boyfriend's little attack dog on tape threatening you, which will play real nice in court. He nodded toward Tyler, being loaded into the back of a cruiser. He's not going to bother you again. I exhaled, a long, shuddering breath that felt like it came from somewhere years deep. What happens now? I asked. Now? Mark said. You rest. You heal. You let us do the paperwork. He grinned. And you figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life, now that it's back in your hands. I looked up at Cole. At the house behind him, windows shattered, but still standing. At the barn, scarred, but solid. At the field stretching out beyond, washed clean by the storm. I thought about Denver, and how small it suddenly felt in my mind. I think, I said slowly, I'd like to stay. Cole's arm tightened around me. I was hoping you'd say that, he murmured. Life afterward was not perfect. Houses don't fix themselves. Windows don't magically unshatter. Bodies don't stop remembering what fear feels like just because the threat is gone. For a while, every slamming door made me flinch. Every unfamiliar car near the diner made my heart race. But slowly, with time, and with his presence beside me, the edges softened. We repaired the house together. Joe insisted on feeding every cop and investigator who came through town with pies, for bravery, and casseroles for paperwork. The story flew through town faster than gossip usually did. Everyone had an opinion. Some clucked tongues about that poor girl bringing big city trouble here. Some marveled at Cole standing up like that, like something out of a movie. Most, though, just welcomed me back a little warmer, brought me small comforts, slipped notes of encouragement under napkin dispensers at the diner. And every evening, when my shift ended, there was a truck outside. Sometimes he came in. Sometimes he just leaned against the hood, hat tipped back, watching the door. But he was always there, waiting to walk me home. Sometimes home was the apartment above the diner. Sometimes, slowly more often, it was the ranch. At first, I stayed in the guest room. Then, one evening, as we stood on the porch watching the sun slide down behind the fields, he cleared his throat. I've been thinking, he said. Dangerous, I teased. He smiled faintly. I like having you here, he said simply. I like knowing you're not walking alone in the dark anymore. He exhaled. I just like you? A lot, my heart stuttered. I like you too, I said. A lot. He nodded, as if confirming something he'd suspected. I don't want to rush you, he said. You've had your life rearranged enough, but if you ever wanted to make this more permanent, he gestured to the house, to the land, to us. I'd be okay with that. My throat tightened. You're asking me to move in? I asked softly. I'm asking you to build something with me, he said. Not just live here. Make it ours. Yours and mine. Not just my dad's old place and my guilt and my ghosts. Tears pricked my eyes. You're not the only one with ghosts, I whispered. Maybe they could keep each other company. He huffed a soft laugh. Maybe they could, he agreed. I took a breath that felt like a leap. I've been thinking too, I said, about turning that old bunkhouse into something. A little coffee shop. Maybe a bakery. A place people can come before church, or after branding, or instead of driving all the way into town. His eyes lit, just a little. "Out here?" he asked. "Out here," I said, "on the ranch. We could call it Second Chances, or Heart and Hearth, or something less cheesy. I'm open to feedback." I smiled. I could still help Joe part-time, but I could build something that's ours too. He looked at me like I'd handed him something he hadn't realized he wanted. "I like Heart and Hearth," he said. "And I like the idea of waking up and knowing you're just here, not driving back and forth, not always leaving." I took his hand, threading my fingers through his. "I'm tired of leaving," I said. "I'm ready to stay." He squeezed my hand gently. "Then stay," he said. "Stay with me." He bent and kissed me then, slow and soft, the way we'd both been wanting for weeks. No urgency, no desperation. Just a long, careful promise, sealed under an open sky. It felt like safety tasted, like coming home. We built a new routine. I moved my boxes one by one, Joe supervising like I was her daughter leaving for college all over again, except only 6 miles away. We painted the bunkhouse, laughing when we got more paint on each other than on the walls. He taught me how to ride properly, not just sit in the saddle and hope. My thighs hated me for a week. Then they adjusted. I showed him how to organize the ranch books in a way that didn't involve a shoebox full of receipts and a prayer. We made plans for Heart and Hearth, where the counter would go, what coffee machine to buy, how many tables we could fit without making it feel cramped. Sometimes we argued about how many hours I spent at the diner, about how recklessly he pushed himself when the weather was bad, and he still insisted on checking the herd. Those fights were never cruel. They were born out of the same thing, a fierce, stubborn instinct to protect the other. We learned to say sorry fast. We learned to listen. We learned that love wasn't about never being scared. It was about having someone to hold on to when you were. One night, after a long day of branding calves and serving coffee to every tired ranch hand in the county, we collapsed on the porch swing, watching the stars come out. "I never thought I'd end up here," I said, leaning my head on his shoulder. Here, on this porch, with you." "Me either," he said. "Didn't think I'd get to have this. Figured my job was just to keep everyone else safe. Didn't expect anyone to look at me and see something worth staying for." I turned, studying his profile in the moonlight. "Took me a while to trust it," I admitted. "To trust you. To trust myself to choose right this time." He nodded. "I'm glad you did," he said. I smiled. "Tell me something," I said. "Honest, always," he said. "If things had gone differently that night," I said slowly, "if they'd taken me, if you hadn't heard the dogs, if Mark hadn't shown up, would you have blamed yourself again?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Yeah," he said finally, "I would have. Because that's who I am. I carry things that aren't mine sometimes. Then maybe it's a good thing I'm here," I said softly, "to remind you that not everything is yours to carry." He looked at me, eyes soft. "And maybe it's a good thing you're here," he said, "so I can remind you that some things are." "Like what?" I asked, heart beating a little faster. "Like you," he said simply, "you're my choice, my responsibility, my privilege to carry, when you let me." Tears pricked my eyes. "You don't have to be poetic, you know," I said, voice shaky. "You could just say you love me." He smiled. "I love you," he said quietly. The words landed gentle and solid inside me, like fence posts finally set in good earth. "I love you too," I whispered. The kiss that followed was soft and deep and full of everything we'd been building: late-night talks, shared chores, whispered fears, laughter in the kitchen, gunpowder and rain and second chances. It wasn't about sparks or fire. It was about warmth, steady, enduring, protected. We opened Heart and Hearth the following spring. The town showed up like it was a county fair. Kids ran around the porch, leaving sticky fingerprints on the new railings. Old ranchers argued over who'd been there first when the land was settled. Teenagers took pictures by the sign, rolling their eyes but secretly pleased. Jo cried into her coffee. I stood behind the counter, apron on, heart full, watching it all. Cole moved through the crowd like he always did, quiet, steady, keeping an eye on everyone. But now, every once in a while, his gaze came back to me. And every time it did, my world felt smaller in the best way. Just him. Just us. Just this life we'd chosen. Later that night, when the last customer finally left and the closes sign hung in the window, he wrapped me up in his arms in the middle of the empty shop. "You did good?" he murmured against my hair. "We did good," I corrected. He pulled back, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "You ever miss it?" he asked. "The city, the noise." "Sometimes," I said honestly. "The anonymity. Being just another face in the crowd." He nodded, like he understood. "Here," I said, gesturing around, "everyone knows my business. They know my story. They know the worst thing that almost happened to me, and the best that actually did." He waited. "But I think," I said slowly, "I'd rather be known all the way than invisible. I'd rather be here with you, where danger might roll in on a storm once in a while." I smiled, but love and loyalty win every time. He kissed me then, slow and sure, with the coffee machines humming softly around us, and the smell of cinnamon rolls in the air. Outside, the prairie stretched wide and quiet, holding our little shop, our house, our future. Inside, I knew one thing for sure. If something happened, he would come. If I asked, he would stay. And as long as he stood between me and the shadows, with that fierce, steady devotion in his eyes, I would never be alone again. If you want more slow-burn cowboy protector romances, more nights on the prairie, where danger is real, but love is stronger, subscribe and turn on notifications, sweetheart. We've got a lot more stories to tell.